Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?
Hey, everyone in, let's go. Huddle up on 3. 1, 2, 3, huddle up.
No one, and I mean no one, comes into our house and pushes us around. This is your game now, gentlemen.
Two minutes to go. And a puck up Dan Holtby watching a bad bounce out of the corner and a shot and a save made by Braden Holtby. Oh my! As Alex Tuck was robbed on a puck that came bouncing out of the corner, and Washington by a whisker. Still on top with 1:59 to go. My goodness, Braden Holtby. Off the face-off, the Capitals have won it. The capital of the country is the capital of the hockey playoffs.
Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
And now, welcome everyone to the Huddle Up Podcast.
We did it our way, baby! We did it! We did it! We did it!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Huddle Up Podcast, live here on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. And it is Tuesday, October the 6th, 2020. We are glad to be with you live. If you're following along with us, give us a like, give us a share. We'd appreciate that. And it's just me and Sean at the moment. I don't know if Dave jumps on. We will get him in here as well. But we got tons to talk about this week, including trying to get back on schedule. And college action is heating up. But first, make sure you follow us on all of our social media at Huddle Up Podcast. You can see all the links there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our shows on all podcast platforms, including Spotify and now Amazon as well. So make sure you do that. Make sure you check out our home network, NGSC Sports, and of course the sponsor of the show, Arena Eats at arenaeats.app. And we are glad to be with you. Sean here is with us as well. Sean, how are we doing tonight?
Well, I mean, a little bit hotter this week, so we're right back to Florida for October. It has been a balmy high 80s kind of couple days here in the start of fall. So weather-wise, not quite as enjoyable for me, but and obviously sports-wise, we've wound out of a couple of my sports, and now we're just kind of trying to wade my way through football season. I'd call it fantasy football season, but none of my teams have shown up yet, so we're hoping that season starts real soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, I know in the league where I'm commissioner, I think you are looking to possibly hold on to that last place belt.
Yeah, could be back-to-back first overall picks. We're really trying to start a new face to the franchise. We're not sure we found him. We might just have to start from the bottom up again.
I was going to say, because you're definitely there. Definitely emphasis on the bottom. But
true.
My teams they're hanging in there. They're doing all right. Scored a lot of points this week.
Look, I've always said it's always easier to keep looking up if you're laying at the bottom. So it's always just the way to make sure I'm looking up at all times.
You're not wrong there, Sean. So let's jump into it again. If you're following along with us here, make sure you can interact with us. Leave some comments, and we'll get to them. And make sure you give the video a share, whatever platform you're following us on. We'd appreciate that. We had a question of the week this week, Sean, and obviously the big news, we talked a little bit about it on last week's show, was obviously Tennessee Titans had some positive cases. They continued throughout the week. We saw their game last week get postponed. Today was 2 straight days where they have had 0 new positives, which is a good thing. And if they have a third one tomorrow, they'll be able to reopen the facility, hopefully get back to action. Because for the second week in a row, we have a Titans game to predict. And last week, obviously, the game against the Steelers never came to be.
Right.
But the question of the week I put out there, we had a couple responses on our social media, was should the NFL pause or cancel the season based on the outbreak with the Titans. Of course, then we saw what turned out to be a false positive with the Saints. Cam Newton had tested positive, almost kind of derailed the Chiefs and Patriots, but they got through okay and played the game last night. So it's as we talked about all year, whether it's college, whether it's NFL, whether it's all these other sports, it's kind of a fluid situation. And for me, I don't necessarily think that one team having an outbreak or at least a small outbreak that they were able to contain should necessarily cause the season to be canceled. But if it begins to get out of control, that's where the league has to kind of, even if it's simply, and I think the first step would be to pause. I don't think you should go from playing the games to canceling the season right away. I think you should give it time to breathe a little bit and give it a week, give it 2 weeks, have the teams kind of lock down their facilities, really try and hammer into their players. Like, look, you can't not follow protocols. You guys have to stay on top of this. If it gets any worse, we're going to lose the season. So I think right now it seems to have calmed down, and it would appear that everything should be on board. Now, again, this can change on a daily basis, but it should be okay to move forward into this week. But the league had a scare here, and how would you, Sean, if you were in charge, if you were in the Goodell chair, how would you kind of address these situations?
Well, I mean, number one is, people say you don't want to err on the side of caution too long, but you also don't want to overreact because people look at the short term and they say, well, this could get worse. But if you're also going to look at the long term, could also get worse. So, like, if you're going to suspend a season or put a halt to things for one team, maybe one, and then those couple scattered cases, you say, whoa, let's pause. You take a few weeks off. Well, then in 3-4 weeks, 2 teams have a hole, and then it's well, you did this last time. Is it going to be the same reaction? Are we going to reconsider? At least at this point, they haven't tipped their hat to how they're going to react to it. It seems to have calmed down for them. Now, it would have been a very different game if any other players in the Chiefs or the Patriots organizations beyond one had tested positive. Sounds like theirs were kind of more fluke cases as opposed to what seemed like a very concentrated outbreak in Tennessee. And for me, the interesting thing going forward is not so much should we have stopped, should we have done this. I think it's going to be what, because of the rumors of some protocol situations and breaking protocol in Tennessee, and that maybe being the cause of this outbreak, you're putting a lot of lives and a lot of dollars at risk by doing that. So if you can get to the bottom of who broke what protocol, what that means, and if you can't pinpoint who left, who went where, which you should be able to with the social tracing, even if you can, I think the team ultimately is going to get, just at a team level, should get something just to send the message out there to these teams. This is serious. Like, this is our livelihood. There's a lot of people even outside of our team that work in these stadiums that put a lot of stuff on the line to make sure things are safe. And, we just want to make sure that, so I think you're going to see some kind of over the top looking fines and I don't want to say like suspensions, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know where they'll draw the line, but I'd like to see something pretty severe.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw. I don't know if you saw like on Twitter and stuff. It looked like the Raiders had a situation of some, some fundraiser events or something like that, where there was multiple players and personnel at like a dinner, no masks on, anything like that. So luckily, so far, and again, so far, there hasn't been any positive cases with the Raiders. So. But yeah, and I think the league even had said that potentially teams may face fines, suspensions, or potential forfeiture of games because of for violating protocol. And if that's what it takes to get control of this thing, then quite frankly, as a fan who's been enjoying the watching the NFL and using it as a distraction from life right now, it's been well worth it. Tyler here in the comments, teams should be fined just like players and coaches that aren't wearing masks. Yeah, exactly. Like we've seen that with the NFL. Coaches and people on the sidelines that aren't wearing masks have faced fines because it's a league rule. So the league has an opportunity here to take take a situation that could have been, quite frankly, could have been worse. And obviously for the players and stuff that with the Titans that were affected, we haven't heard of anything really severe in terms of symptoms or anything like that. So that's a good thing. But it could have been a lot worse, and the league has to learn from this, and the teams have to learn from this, and hopefully it doesn't become more of a problem than we saw here in the last 7 days or so.
Well, yeah, and those fines to those coaches and guys, people on the sidelines, kind of where it hit me that this could be a pretty severe if they have exited what semi bubble they're in. If there've been anything that the league hadn't approved of, I think you're going to really see them come down pretty hard, just based on how hard those fines were and how careful I've seen the sidelines be about. I don't know if it's just wearing them or about being filmed with them. But I've seen a lot of folks making sure that mask is on the sidelines since those fines went down.
Yeah, so I mean, it seemed to have worked. David on Twitter said that they should cancel the season. Ryan said that at that point, and not our Dave, another Dave.
Right.
Ryan had said that only one game, which at that point then it became 2 games, had been rescheduled. If it becomes a trend, then look at canceling, but not until that point. So yeah, and that's the thing. Like it was one weekend, one game, that had to be moved later in the year. Luckily with the Patriots and the Chiefs, they only had to move it one day. They got that game in last night, Monday night doubleheader. I'm never going to complain about that. But yeah, they kind of have dodged the bullet there. Tyler again says the league needs to hand down some punishments. If it gets too bad, that there needs to be more drastic.
Yeah, don't worry, Tyler. I think they're coming. I think it's just a matter of getting to the bottom of who's responsible for what and what that responsibility was, and then ultimately at both a team and individual level. I think you're going to see some people get the book thrown at them pretty hard here.
Yeah, and I think the first set of whatever punishment comes, whether it's a fine to a team and the players or anything like that, I think it's going to be a situation where that the first round of punishment, the league's going to say, look, let's just use the Titans because they were the first one to really put egg on their face. This is the punishment to the Titans. If there are more issues in weeks 5 and 6 and beyond, a harsher punishment will be handed down to any teams that violate further. Like, I don't think it's going to be like, if a team has a first problem, they'll get the first problem punishment. I think the punishments are going to get harsher regardless of who are the teams that are causing issues, because the deeper you get into the year, the more things are at stake, and
you're invested further. Like you've now put more people at risk. You've spent more money, and you need to get that return.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's going to be, for this week the punishment would be this. Anything beyond this, it's going to be that, and then so on and so forth. Like the league could kind of put out a memo like punishments are going to get worse every single time there's a problem, regardless of if it's your first infraction, second infraction, or 10th infraction. It's just going to get worse and worse. So hopefully the teams get put on notice. So thank you for those who responded to. We're going to move on here, and we're going to stick in the NFL. We're going to start with our NFL pick'ems first, and then we'll go back to the college world, and we will start like I pick 4 games as we always do, and we are going to start, Sean, in Chicago on Thursday night. The 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and man, it really kind of cracks me up, like just how quick, like writers and people on social media and everything like that are ready to have those Tom Brady's done. Tom Brady's he's dead, he's done. It's over. They're so ready to write those career eulogies for Tom Brady. Like he throws a pick 6, everybody jumps in on it, and then Tom Brady reminds us with 5 touchdowns later that he's not dead yet.
Oh yeah, and Tom with that pick, it was it didn't look good. Things were grim, and who else but the Chargers could take a situation they had right before halftime and hand Tom the opportunity to get just one, and from there it just snowballed into and it was a pretty beat up supporting cast. I mean, lost O.J. Howard in that game. You were already down Chris Godwin. They had a lot of guys that wound up pretty dinged up on that offensive side of the ball, and Gronk was asked to be on the field a lot. Didn't even use him a lot. Only a couple of targets. So you're starting to see him kind of make men out of some boys like he used to up in New England. So it's people down here are pretty excited.
I would say so, but they travel. They're a 5.5-point road favorite at the 3-1 Chicago Bears. Over and under on this one, 44. This game Thursday night, 8:20 on Fox and the NFL Network. Are the Bears going to go back to Mitch Trubisky, or because Nick Foles not very good in that starting role?
Yeah, man. Oh, look at this comment.
Tom Brady is a system quarterback, and it shows he is the most pick 6 in the first. Yeah. Tyler.
You can pick every game if you're going to throw 5 touchdowns. I don't care who's at the helm. I don't care if it's Trubisky or whatever, but the first week,
Well, and again, people, also forgetting new system,
right?
New receivers, new playbook, no preseason, no scrimmages, not a normal camp. Mike Evans dinged up to start the year. Godwin has only played 2 quarters in 4 weeks. OJ Howard goes out with an Achilles injury now. Offensive line completely different. It's not. I'm not even necessarily saying it's a bad offensive line. It is just completely different than the offensive line that he's used to in New England. Everything is different, and you're thrown into the Wolves. They're 3-1 in what is a hard division.
Yeah, and it's it's a scenario where it's not just a matter of obviously new system. It's a new difficult system. This is a system that Carson Palmer, who wound up thriving in it for many years, his first year or two were huge adjustment years going into this. Obviously, saw Jameis Winston never stopped adjusting and just continued to make those errors. And if they don't bail on Jameis, maybe that time spent the decision making obviously was a little too extreme to avoid. But it's not an easy system to pick up, especially with the longevity he had in his previous one. And like you said, getting used to the guys in front of you. And just things like defensive pacing, like getting used to, defenses tend to spend on average the same amount of time on the field, just timing and stuff. But yeah, that offseason, everything plays into it. And I mean, I haven't looked at his numbers in years past as far as touchdowns in the first 4 weeks. But I'd imagine this is up there as far as number of touchdowns in the first 4 weeks, especially, Bill liked to come out a little conservative early in the year, and with the exception of that Randy Moss year, it hasn't been a team that always puts up a lot of points. But they just find themselves on the right side of the scoreboard when the game's over. And, for Tom to be out here, making this team look as good as it has in a really long time, you want to give him a pick every game. Hopefully he corrects that if you're the coach. You don't want it to eventually be in a scenario where it puts you on the other side of the scoreboard. But, I don't think, I don't think
there may be a game or two this year that he does throw a pick that cost them the game. But the bottom line is, as long as you don't do that when the season's on the line, you're probably going to be okay. The best quarterbacks in the world, have a bad game and will cost their team a game. The best pitchers in the world will get racked up for 10 runs in 3 innings. It is going to happen. Even the best players, have off nights. But I mean, for him, he's currently at 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't care how many pick sixes he throws. 11-4 is a great ratio.
Well, let's be honest. At four interceptions, you're on pace for 16. If Jameis Winston had only thrown 16 and had the same number of touchdowns he had last year, Tom wouldn't be in Tampa Bay.
Exactly.
It's not like Tom's fumbling it like Jameis was. He's not handing the ball over, and not all 4 of those are his fault. So, at 16, is that a little high? Yeah. Do I think he's going to throw 16? I don't know. If I had to put money on, I say no. I say I don't think he hits 16. But, even if he throws 18 interceptions, if he throws 45 touchdowns and they win the division or finish second, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Yeah, his ratio, if it plays out, again, we're through 4 weeks, it's going to be 48 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. I think Tampa Bay will be just fine.
I think they'll take those numbers.
Yeah, no if Tom Brady throws 48 touchdowns this year, I'm going to venture a guess that Tampa Bay is going to be in pretty good shape.
I would think so. Let's pick some games.
All right, let's pick some games. And so I'm going to go with those Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus the 5.5. 44. I feel like that 44 number is pretty solid because I don't think the Bears can score a lot. Can they
they'd like to score at all?
Well, they would. Can they disrupt the Tampa offense? I'm gonna go over. I've been sitting here praising Tom Brady for the last 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go Tampa Bay plus and the over in this one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I thought that Bears offense was going to look a lot better under Nick. I mean, being a Philadelphia sports fan over the history of his career, I have seen the differences between Nick Foles in a starting role and in a relief role. Luckily for a stretch of 4 games there, the starting role worked out for us. But he has had his issues in the past in a starting role. I'm hoping but he's also a smart guy, and I think he's a different quarterback than he was when he used to have those struggles. I think you're going to see a better Bears product on the field. You're going to have – I mean, they had some adjustments without Tariq Cohen and some other guys on the Bears offense as well. I think Nick calms down. Unfortunately, it's not against a great defense to try and calm down. I think Tampa Bay's defense is going to give him fits. And I think Chicago's defense is going to know that they're going to rise up. So I think there is a chance you see Tom throw a pick number 5. And Tyler, don't panic. It's still not the end of the world. But I think there's a good chance you see one, and maybe it is for 6 points. I think it's going to be close. What did we say the spread was? Bucks by
5.5.
5.5. I'm going to take Bucks to win, Bears to cover. I think it's going to be a close game. And I think it's going to be right in that 20-ish point range. I think a pick 6 or some sort of special teams play from Cordarrelle Patterson, something like that. You get teams that come out of an offensive game like that, they try to make that up. I take the Bears to cover, but I'm going to go the over with you.
Yeah, and actually, you know what, Sean? I think I forgot to do these last week, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just go ahead and give this one Tampa Bay plus and the over.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up.
Lock
it up. Lock it up.
Lock it up.
Lock on both.
Lock on both. Tampa to win big here. All right, let's move to Sunday, 1:00 on CBS. The 4-0 Bills are a 1-point road favorite at the returning from COVID, fingers crossed, 3-0 Tennessee Titans. 49 is the over-under on this game. Man, this Bills team, they might actually be good. They might actually be good, Sean. Josh Allen looks like, you know, the crowned guy that they were hoping he would be. And yeah, they're out and they're cruising and they're having some fun, and they're not even at full strength. Like, they have injuries too. So you know, for Tennessee, they've had a lot of time off. If they can get back to work, they're going to be back in the facilities tomorrow. So that leaves Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That leaves 4 days of work for the first time in over a week. The Bills, I like the Bills here. They're going to cover that 1 point. But I'm actually going to go with the under 49. I think both defenses are really good. I think Tennessee might stumble a bit out of the gate because they've had this extended week off with a lot of confusion and stuff like that. So I like Buffalo to win and the under.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one to pick. I think that week off really makes this an interesting one. Probably a lot to do with that 1 point swing. Fortunately for Tennessee, it doesn't seem like anybody in any prime positions really affected by the virus. But you're right. I think Buffalo looks real good. I think surprisingly, everybody's been ready for that Buffalo defense and the pass rush and the turnovers and to be honest, defensively, that's not what's winning them games. I mean, you got a kind of rejuvenated Josh Allen. The addition of Stephon Diggs on the outside seems to have really opened that offense up. I think they're still trying to find what's going on in their running game, and they need to do it. I think right now they're still at a point where when push comes to shove, I think they're trying to ask Josh Allen to still be that running back, and Cam Newton will tell you that takes its toll. So I think I'd like to see him pick a guy, give him 3-down work. If it's going to be the Rook, great. If it's going to be Singletary, awesome. But give a guy some confidence. Let him carry the rock more downs than not. But because of those kind of not seeing the defense arrive that much, and I have a lot of faith in Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, I think they're going to push over. So I'm going to take the other side of that. Why not? I'm going to go with Tennessee. I'm going to go Tennessee off a long layover. They're just itching to play football. I think they're going to be excited. Now, for my pick to hit, they're going to have to come out and score early. But you're going to see a little bit of a shootout. I think it's going to be Tannehill, kind of finishing off some of those doubters, and you're going to see Josh Allen. I think you're going to see the lead change hands a couple of times, but I'm going to take Tennessee and the over.
All right, Sean, we got a little breaking news coming in here.
Breaking news.
The Seattle Storm are your 2020 WNBA champions. They finished off a 4-game sweep over the Las Vegas Aces. So congratulations to the Seattle Storm. Like I said, your 2020 WNBA champs. There you go.
How
about that? Breaking some news over here.
You think Vegas is coming?
Yeah. All right. Let's. Speaking of Las Vegas, let's go with the Las Vegas Raiders. They are 2-2. They travel to Kansas City. The 4-0 Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, that game was kind of a stinker last night. Not very exciting, but they got the job done. A little closer than I thought. The Chiefs are a 10.5 point home favorite. Over and under on this one, 57. This one at 1 o'clock on CBS. I like the Raiders. I think that they've been playing a little better than some people have expected to here. With is this a second or third year with Gruden? I can't keep track of the number of years. Let's say second, unless we get corrected. We'll say second.
Maybe somebody will put it out there, but I think it's the second year. But I lose track.
Yeah. But they've looked pretty good. Obviously at 2-2, you want to see that record lean a little bit further into the win column. But I think the Chiefs are just too good, and they didn't have a great game last night. Schedule got a little disrupted, but they're They were home this week. They're home next week. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for them. I think the Raiders can cover that 10.5 number, keep it close, rivalry game. But I like the Chiefs to win. And I'm going to go 57. I'll stay under. If it goes over, I think the Chiefs win, and they best that 10.5 margin. So I think the Raiders will keep it close and we'll keep it under.
Yeah, I think last week you saw a Chiefs team face a what for the first time in a long time is an underrated Patriots defense. People had question marks on the offensive side of the ball, and I think with the transition to Cam and now a replacement scenario, I think you saw a lot of focus on that offensive side of the ball. But let's not forget, there's a lot of players in that defense that opted out, and this New England Patriots defense has been forcing turnovers, a lot of 3-and-outs. They're not giving up a lot of points. So for the Chiefs to come out there and still slowly but surely make a pretty decent spread out of that, and it still kind of became a statement game, I think, for them. Let's not forget who's on top of the AFC and move on with our day. Now, because of some of that sputtering and I think the game plan, with it being Pat Mahomes and being Andy Reid and just kind of having watched the way he plays, I think he's going to want to get that offense in gear. And the Raiders just might be that scenario. It's a chance to play at home. That's a whole different ball game for the Raiders. I think if it was in Las Vegas, I might kind of be with you. I think the Chiefs are going to win this one extremely handedly. I think it's going to be flashy. I think you're going to see a lot of speed. And I think the Raiders on offense are just too banged up to keep up. They are going to put points on the board. I can see that happening. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the over, and you can put a lock on it. That's lock that one up.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
You can lock it up.
You can lock it up. All right. And our final game for this week, the 3-1 Indianapolis Colts are a 3-point road favorite at the 3-1 Cleveland Browns, who I think actually just scored another touchdown against.
Yeah, I heard Dallas gave up another one. That's the other breaking news.
Yeah,
breaking news. Dallas just gave up.
Yeah, just gave up another touchdown to the Browns. Good God, that was bad. 47.5 over under on this one. This one at 425 on CBS. If you haven't picked up a pattern over the last couple weeks, CBS, aka the AFC, that's where the better football is being played right now, folks.
Sure is.
Because at least the more competitive. I mean, obviously there's some good teams in the NFC, but there's also some really bad teams in the NFC. You know what? I like the Browns a lot in this one. I think the Colts being favored is a little bit of a slap in the face. I think the Browns are a really good football team. Great pass rush. Secondary's not too shabby either. Yeah, they got torched.
I was going to say they just give up 500 yards.
But I mean, the Cowboys passing offense is the best in football right now, statistically speaking. I mean, it also helps their numbers that they're playing from behind or in a shootout every week. So they don't have the option to feed Zeke the football like they probably want to do, like they did week 1. So, but yeah, great pass rush. I think Baker Mayfield and that offense is clicking. Whatever issues he had with Odell Beckham last year seem to have been resolved. So I like the Browns here plus, and I'm going to go the over 47.5. I mean, again, I think the Colts defense probably better than the Cowboys. There's not any defenses worse than the Cowboys. But the Browns are going to move the ball. They're going to score points. The Colts are going to have to try to keep up. So I like the Browns here to win outright and obviously cover and over the 47.5.
Okay. Well, duly noted. I'm going to come out here and just absolutely disagree with everything you just said. Because you're right. I do like the Cleveland Browns. I like them especially for what they did to Dallas last week.
Wrong.
Yeah. I especially like the Browns for what they did to the Cowboys last week. But
naturally.
But let's not forget that they were playing Dallas. And I mean that in the most sincere, how do they keep embarrassing themselves way possible?
The most literal sense possible.
I mean, there's sometimes when I watch Dallas' defense on the field that I feel like they could just line up 6 defensive front and like no one else, and the same thing would happen. It would just give you more time to come back then because no one would try to tackle.
36.5 points they give up per game, points per game.
That's unbelievable.
That's with the Rams only scoring 20 on them week 1.
Yeah, I was going to say that Rams wasn't that high scoring. So
no, it was 2017.
Having said that, you have a Cleveland team that's coming off a big high, and you should. You went into Dallas and you beat a team people didn't think you were going to stack up well against, and all you had to do was keep up, and they did that. Baker's played incredibly well. But it's still Baker Mayfield. I'm still not a true believer, and I think this is the week he may get exposed. I think Indianapolis' defense is one of the best in the league. I think, the fact that Phillip Rivers hasn't had to be Phillip Rivers yet is the reason why they're winning games. They're not asking Phillip Rivers to go out there and sling balls and win games. They're asking him to just be smart, play it safe. There's a reason T.Y. Hilton stretching the field hasn't happened yet. They haven't had to. And I think that defensive front for Cleveland is good. I'm not super sold on their secondary. You're looking at a Cleveland team that is 3-1. However, it's a Cleveland team whose 3 wins came against the Bengals, the Redskins, and Dallas's defense.
The Washington.
I always say Redskins, probably because they're still just the Redskins to me. But the
football team. Take time. The football team.
The football team. Either way, your only real test, in my opinion, as far as a defense was against Baltimore, and you only put up 6. You've also lost Nick Chubb. Obviously, fellas in relief did pretty well. You do have Kareem Hunt, which is nice. But with Kareem Hunt in the field, you're going to be, in my opinion, you're going to be asking Baker Mayfield to use more passing formations, and I think that's a mistake against Indianapolis. I think defenses do come to play. I don't think Indianapolis is forced to score a lot of points to beat them, but I think you're going to see the flash and the speed slowed down quite a bit. I'm going to take Indianapolis, and I'm going to take the under because I think both defenses are going to keep things, and both offenses. I think they're going to play it fairly safe, and it's going to be kind of a low-end shootout, kind of a who's the last team with the ball kind of game, and I think it's going to be Indianapolis.
All right, Sean, we are going to pause here quick for a quick commercial break from our sponsor, and we hope that everybody will stick with us. On the other side, we have college football to predict, as well as a check-in on the Major League Baseball postseason and the NBA Finals. Stick with us. Huddle Up Podcast.
We'll be right back.
Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app. That's arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis on all things sports. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, subscribe to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports, and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop. Welcome back to the Huddle Up Podcast, live here on Facebook and on Periscope and YouTube as well. If you're joining along with us, we appreciate that and hope you're having a great week so far. I want to give a shout out to Anthony DiStefano of the Rant Foundation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Rant Foundation for the new logo and the new branding here. Absolutely spectacular work. Basically, all I said to him was I like the feel of the play like a champion today sign, and he ran with it, and we absolutely love it. So again, thank you to Ant for that, and yeah, you can follow them again at Rant Foundation on Twitter. So Sean, we're getting back into the college football action. Not a game that we are going to pick because I try to keep it for the most part. Now there's one game that is an exception, and that is the Red River Shootout. But our Irish back in action this week against Florida State. And I had a friend of the show, Ernest Christian, who's a Florida State guy. He asked me earlier today, he goes, how ugly is the Notre Dame Florida State game going to be? And I said, well, I would probably assume Notre Dame's going to win by about 20 or so, but maybe he'll get lucky. I think the spread on it's Notre Dame by like 25. I said maybe Florida State will get a little bit lucky. Notre Dame coming off the 3 weeks off. They had the COVID and all of that. Maybe it'll be closer to a 10 to 15 pointer. Oh, we got to get you unmuted, Sean.
Yeah, I get I get the Florida State feed on my radio down here when I'm driving around on the weekends sometimes. And man, if their announcers just demeanor is anything close to the demeanor in the Florida State locker room these days, I don't see any reason they're going to be up to play this game. I mean, obviously you get a chance to play a ranked opponent, a high ranked opponent. You want to go in and prove you can beat somebody. So maybe that's the selling point. I think 21 is factoring in that lag. I feel like 21
it could be like 30.
I mean, man, I mean, Miami put a licking on them. I don't see a lot of scenarios where Florida State's within that 20 unless Notre Dame does come out uber slow. I'm looking more that 25, 28 point kind of.
Come on, Sean. Florida State had they had that great come from behind victory against Jacksonville State this past week.
Thing sucks.
Oh man, yeah, and I was watching like that game. The fact that they got back in it is impressive. The fact that Jacksonville State is embarrassing. So it's kind of one of those. Can you even really? I mean, I guess you celebrate it because you got to celebrate the wins that are there. Right. Go out there, have a few beers. May as well not social distance because you're not going to affect anybody else's good time.
Say you're not the you're probably not going to get anywhere close to the opposing team, so it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, you're not tackling them anyway.
All right, let's let us start though with the Red River rivalry. I did say shootout earlier. I think that's what they used to call it. Number 22 Texas against 1 and 2 Oklahoma. Oh boy, nobody could have seen what has happened so far with the Oklahoma Sooners. Their football team reminds me of the Sooner Schooner from the other year when it just toppled over. It just brutal.
Is that Schooner? It got on the field at least.
Well,
that's the difference. The difference is that one at least made it out past the band there for a brief second. I don't think Oklahoma just has not looked like Oklahoma, and at this point they're just fortunate to still be a 2-point favorite in this game, at least according to my spread.
Yeah, I have 1.5, so it's right around there on that line. And if I'm Texas, this one at noon Saturday, the over under 72.5. So it's a Big 12 special.
Should have set it at 90.
Noon. This one, of course, at the Cotton Bowl. This one is on Fox. If I'm Texas, man, and not that Texas is really anything to write home about. And obviously, we were talking in the preseason when we're predicting of who might end up in the college football playoff. I think at that point, the Big Ten didn't look like they were in play. The Pac-12 didn't look like they were in play. But the prospect of a potential one loss like Notre Dame or Clemson, if that loss is to each other, is getting a lot richer with what's happening in the Big 12. I mean, the Pac-12 or Big Ten champions going to have to get through perfect and convincing to get in because of the short schedule, especially the Pac-12. I mean, you're going to have, if you have a margin of victory less than 10 in any game, you're probably not going to sniff a college football playoff. But if I'm Texas, I'm taking this being an underdog. To me, that should be bulletin board material enough based on what we've seen out of Oklahoma. I like Texas here to cover. I like them to win, and I don't care if it's 72.5 172.5. It's the Big 12. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas is licking their chops here on this one, and why wouldn't you be? I mean, the only downside for Texas is you can't catch them by surprise because they're surprised. So they didn't expect to be in this point. Downside for Texas is I still think deep down inside Oklahoma is the better team somewhere, and I think at this point, if you're looking for a way to salvage a shortened season and kind of get your things turned around, this is going to be a heck of a get-up game for them. I think Oklahoma turns it around. I think Oklahoma gets the wheels spinning. I think the offense starts clicking. They got way too much talent for it to keep carrying on, and I think Texas. I always like trying to pick Texas in this game, but usually they're the underdog, and unfortunately they're not that dog in this fight right now, despite what the spread says. So I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover pretty easily, but I'm with you. There is no way in this game I'm taking the under. For you couldn't pay me to take the under. You could place the bet for me, and I still just be like, if it wins, you just take it. That's bad.
Yeah, just
bad juju to bet the under in the Big 12 and win. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's move to some SEC action. Number 4, Florida. They are 2-0. They're a 6.5-point road favorite at number 21, Texas A&M, who are 1-1. 58.5 is the over/under on this one. This one also 3 big games at noon this week. So I hope you have some extra screens handy or tablets or something ready for this Saturday in college football. This one Saturday at noon on ESPN. I like Florida here. Texas A&M. They kind of hung with Bama a little bit, on Saturday, but Bama obviously picking up the victory. So I think I might take Texas A&M to cover the 6.5. And at 58.5, the SEC loves to score too. Like I remember it wasn't much more than a couple of years ago that the SEC was lauded as this great defensive conference, and we see these SEC matchups going for 60, 70, 80, 90 points. So I'm going to go the over on this one. I'm going to take a high-scoring game between Florida and Texas A&M here in a shootout, but Texas A&M to cover the 6.5. Florida wins, though.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I coming out of the shoot, I had A&M being a pretty solid dog in the SEC fight, and I don't think that the loss to Alabama necessarily means anything. I don't think anyone expected them to win that game. But there's just not a lot of track record for either team. And Florida does look real good. So, it's real hard to pick against them. But I think that 21 in front of Texas A&M is a low number. I think when all said and done, they're going to be a little bit higher than that. But the downside is it's going to take a while because I think you're right. I think Florida comes out here. It's kind of a chance for them to make a bit of a statement and say, you know what, we're not, we're here as another team in that top 5 struggle in the playoff. I'm all for A&M proving me wrong. I think it's very realistic to think it is, but you're right. It's going to be close. I think for most of the game, I'll take the opposite though. I'll take Florida to cover and win. I'll take them by the full touchdown there, and I guess I'm with you. I'm going to go over. I feel like it's going to be push, and then Florida pulls away.
All right, let's move noon on Saturday on ABC. Number 19, Virginia Tech 2-0 at number 8, North Carolina also 2-0. This one, North Carolina is a 4-point favorite. 58 is the over/under on this game. Virginia Tech wants to make a statement of who they are and who they're going to be in this ACC. I think that this Saturday is a great time to do it. I don't think either of these teams are truly going to compete for the conference title this year, just because of it being just the number 1 and number 2 team, and because Notre Dame is in the mix this year. So in a way, I kind of feel bad for these teams, but you know what? I'm going to go. Might go a little bit of an upset special here. I like Virginia Tech to cover and pull the upset over North Carolina, and I'm going to actually take the under. I think if Virginia Tech is going to win this game, they're going to have to control the clock control the game, keep North Carolina's offense off the field a little bit. So with that, I'm going to go Virginia Tech to pull the upset and the under of the 58.
Yeah, I was dreading picking this game, and I didn't know which handful you were gonna throw at me here, and that A&M game and this game were two that I was just dreading picking, because I think this one you had like some canceled games and some postponed games in their schedule, and it didn't give me a lot to go on. I think Virginia Tech's a real good team. I don't know that they're going to even wind up in the top 20 when it's all said and done. And I think that trip kind of out of it starts this week. I don't think North Carolina is a top 10 team either. I think they're a bit inflated right now, and for all intents and purposes, I could see your pick making it on this one, but I personally don't think it's gonna. I think North Carolina takes this one, kind of hangs around in the top 10 a little bit longer before getting deflated themselves. I'm gonna take North Carolina to win and cover, and 60 is a high number. I'm going to stick with you, though, on the under. I don't think either team's going to put up enough against each other to hit that mark, and we'll keep it under with you, but I'm going to take the other side of that coin.
All right, very good. Then we go to the SEC, number 14 Tennessee, who currently holds tied with Air Force, and only Air Force because Notre Dame had to postpone a week. But with the longest winning streak in the country, 9 games for the Tennessee Volunteers, they're 2-0. They go into number 3, Georgia, as who is a 12.5 point home favorite, who is also 2-0. 44.5 is the number on this one. 3:30 on CBS. And honestly, and this is not discrediting Tennessee or I think even overinflating Georgia, but if you look at 12.5 points for Georgia, 44.5 as the over-under number, that should tell you everything anybody actually believes what Tennessee is. And they're on the upswing. I'm not going to pretend that they're the same team that was 3-9 a few years ago or whatever they were, but they're also not. They're not to the top of the SEC yet. They're building on it. There's something is kind of special happening with the Tennessee Volunteers. They're not going to beat Georgia. They're not going to cover 12.5. Georgia's going to win this one. Almost was my college football lock, but we'll get to that in the next and final game. But Georgia plus, and I'm actually gonna take the over, but it's gonna be more on Georgia's side than Tennessee. I don't think this one's gonna be very close at all.
Yeah, and I was somebody that going into last week, thought that Georgia game was going to be a little closer. I thought Bo Nix was going to be able to get something going, and eventually got a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like yards, like not points. It was Georgia made a statement last week. Do I know that Auburn's better than Tennessee? No, but do I think they're about the same caliber squad? Yeah, I think that they're pretty close. And I think that Georgia's going to do exactly what they did to Auburn. This is, again, in Georgia. That is not good for Tennessee. I think if it was a chance, if you were up, you had to drive up to Knoxville and kind of let that be the place to go, maybe I swing a little bit that way as far as the point swing goes. But I don't see any reason why this train's going to stop here. And like you said, that strange when you're looking at 14.5, because I'm looking at 14.5 points and 43 for the over-under. So you figure if you got a spread like that, not only does it say what people believe in Tennessee, I think it's a statement as to what Georgia has proven themselves to be. It is going to be hard to move the ball. It is going to be hard to get to stay on the field, and it's going to be very hard to stop Georgia when they decide to run the ball. I'm going to take Georgia to cover. I'm going to take – gosh, part of me just wants to take the over because I think Georgia's just going to score all the points to go over. I think they're going over. Maybe Tennessee gets a quick swing somewhere in there, but I think it's all Georgia. They're going to hit the over mark, and it's going to be pretty much that lock that as long as they keep winning, they're going to be in that college playoff. And I'm going to make it my college football lock.
All righty. Sean's locking it up.
Lock it up.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Now we're going to go to my game that will be my lock it up, and I'll hit the button in a minute, is number 7, Miami, Florida. They are 3-0 at number 1, Clemson, who is also 3-0. Clemson, 14.5 point home favorite. 61 is the over-under line on this one. This one's a night game. It's like the third week out of 5 that College Game Day is at a Miami, Florida game, but spoiler alert, probably going to be the last time. Herb Street's buying in. Analysts around the country are buying in. This one's 7:30 on ABC. People are buying in on Miami, and if anything's been proven over the past couple of years, once 65% or more of the sports analyst world start buying in on Miami, sell. It's going to get ugly. It's in Clemson. Miami is going to get railroaded out of that stadium. Clemson plus over. Lock it up.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Yeah, I went with the more flashier of the two, I think. This was the one where I'm like, is it even worth locking up? Is anybody putting Miami in the case? Is anybody trying to steal this money? Like, I would assume some people are. And I think Miami's, I'm not going to say I'm bought in as much as all these sports writers are, but I'm very interested. I think, and I should have said it in the last game, I think Tennessee being good and being competitive is good for college football. I think Miami being good and being competitive is good for college football. Whether you love them or hate them,
totally. 100%
they're definitely two schools that you want to pay attention to, and you hope people are paying attention to.
I think Nebraska's one of those teams too. That like,
Nebraska should be in there. You know, when
teams
UCLA
that have fallen away, because obviously your Michigans, your Wisconsins, Ohio State teams that are up there year after year. But yeah, teams that traditionally have been great that aren't. And I mean, it's the same thing with Notre Dame. Like those years where Notre Dame was 4-8, 3-9, 6-6. That's not good for college football.
No. And I think you're starting to see kind of a resurgence in UCLA, and you're seeing some of these other programs that are turning around. SMU back in the picture, looking great. Having said that, welcome to reality, Miami. Clemson is really, really good, and short of a miracle, I mean, Miami plays a strong defensive game. If you can somehow keep Clemson from scoring a lot of points, at least you have the chance that a ball bounces your way a couple dozen times, and you're still maybe looking at a touchdown deficit. I don't see a lot of scenarios where they win this game. I'm hoping these people buying in don't just jump ship right away, but you will be in a few weeks. Give me Clemson on a landslide. I'll take them to cover too. Clemson over, cover, Clemson.
If I'm Miami, I'm just leaving that turnover chain in Miami. Like, just don't bring it. It's probably not going to find its way out of the case anyhow.
Sure, they don't book a hotel room because you're just going to want to go home.
Yeah, just get there, get your ass kicked, and then go home.
Move home.
It's gonna be safer that way. All right, Sean, just a couple more things here before we close out. Checking in on Major League Baseball, the ALDS. We are in the ALDS. Your Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees, the Houston Astros, who shouldn't even be in the playoffs this year, but that's another story and another time. And the Oakland A's are your two American League Series and National League. You got the Dodgers and the Padres. And God, I love those brown and yellow Padres uniforms. Like those are just spectacular. And those Miami Marlins, who have never lost a playoff series, and the Atlanta Braves are your NLDS. Currently, the series we got in the top of the fourth, the Rays beating the Yankees 5-1. The Yankees leading that series 1-0. The Padres and Dodgers ready to start. The Braves beating the Marlins today 9-5, and the Astros beating the A's 5-2. So Houston leading that series 2-1. Yankees up 1-0. Braves up 1-0, and then of course game 1 for the NLDS is tonight. So Sean, who do you think is going to advance to the ALCS? The Rays leading here, and I think these series now are these best of 5 now, or are these best of 7?
I think it's 5. I think this round you're looking at. You're looking at a best of 5 series, I believe.
So if the Rays can hold on here, and obviously there's a handful of innings left, but if they can hold on and get the win here, I think they're gonna hold strong and end up eliminating the Yankees. As much as I don't like it, because like I said, I don't think they should even be in the postseason this year anyway. I think the Astros are going to finish off the A's. I think it's going to be hard to win 3 straight against this Astros team. I'm going to go with the Marlins over the Braves, Sean. The Marlins have not lost a playoff series. Let's say they don't start now. And because of their sweet, sweet, sweet brown and yellow uniforms, I'm going to go those San Diego Padres to eliminate the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, I think obviously my picks are pretty dead. I had the Rays going to the World Series with you. I may as well just hang on to that. I mean, it's just something about drawing that Yankees this early that just tells me. I mean, the Yankees aren't going to go away quietly. That makes me nervous. And there's a big part of me, going out and from the AL, just watching Houston, kind of be in there and be a part of the whole thing. I always felt, the whole cheating scandal, Houston's good enough to probably have won those World Series without cheating. So it was kind of one of those, with that pitching staff, I've always been a big fan of Houston. But you're right, there's no way the A's come back from down 2-0 on that one. But I'll take the Rays with you. I got the same 2 coming out there. I do have the Padres with you with the same upside. I don't know why. I've been staring at that series, and I said when I took the Cubs last week and had the Cubs going into the World Series, why didn't I just pick the Dodgers? And I think it's just because I don't know. It's just until they do it, I have a hard time betting on them. And I think the Braves kind of made a statement. I think this might be the one that gets away from the Marlins in Game 1. The Braves in comeback fashion coming back to take that one. And I think I'm going to take the Braves to go out there and play the Padres. And who knows? Maybe you get to see the Braves in the World Series. But I'll tell you next week if we get a chance to pick it then. So for now, that's as far as I'm going.
Looking at it, through the first round, there was only 2 series that weren't sweeps.
Yeah.
San Diego was 2 to, and I think those were only best of 3 as well. But
right.
San Diego was 2
to 1. And I used to defend the best of 3 with the play-in, the wild card games. I was like, why don't they make these best of 3? Because really, well, one, it throws off your pitching rotation for the next round. That's why it should be a best of 3. Looking at that, I think the trouble is you lose that first game. And the momentum all swings one way, and it's real hard to take that second one. I feel like that's just kind of what you're seeing, especially with playoff teams that have just kind of starting rotations that build off each other. I think it's real hard to take that second starter when the first one got you. And maybe even if they stick with the best of 3, you'll start to see that as a trend going forward.
Yeah, I've never liked the one game. I've never liked the one game play, and I've always thought it was a little bit goofy, especially the way that like baseball's always structured as a series, as a series game. Like I just don't know. I've never understood why he did that, but it is what it is. And then finally, Sean, the NBA Finals. The Lakers currently leading the series 2-1, and late in the first quarter, they're leading 25-20 over the Miami Heat. Watching what the Lakers did to the Heat in games 1 and 2, I thought, man, this thing's going to be a real quick 4-game sweep. Just give it to the Lakers. It's like Kobe magic and all of that. But the Heat, man, and my pal Ernest Christian from the Earnestly Speaking podcast. He's been a long time Heat fan. And he's said on his show for weeks, like if there's anything this Miami Heat team has, its heart and they're not going to quit. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, they come out and they win game number 3. They're kind of hanging in here in game 4. I mean, I think this one's pretty critical. If they're gonna want to hope to pull the upset here, I think they're gonna have to survive and win, come from behind and win game number 4. But I still think the Lakers are gonna win this series. I just think that they're the better team. That they're playing with just something extra. I mean, you have, and the Heat are down a couple of guys as well. But the Lakers, obviously, with everything this year, you're kind of in the back of their mind. I think they're playing for Kobe. It's just they're on a different level, and it's not taking away anything this incredible run that the Heat have had. But I think it truly is the Lakers' year.
Yeah, it looked that way. I mean, I'm not surprised to see the Heat win a game. But if you talk about critical games in an NBA final, I mean, the Heat can't afford to lose one at home. So if there's any opportunity to win on your home floor, you got to do it because I mean, if you're going to try to win more than one in LA, when for all intents and purposes, Kobe's Lakers are in the finals, Godspeed to you. But yeah, the Heat are a young team, and with that, I mean, they're very coachable. Jimmy Butler has really taken on a kind of leadership, but also teammate kind of role, kind of that guide to help pull them through. And it's kind of fun to see, but of course, as a Philly sports fan, when you are pulling for the Sixers, Jimmy left, so Jimmy no title, at least not this year. You got your win. Congratulations. You beat the Lakers in the finals. Sixers couldn't do it with Iverson. couldn't overcome more than one. So neither can you. It's going to be a 4-1 series final. And I don't know. It would be kind of fitting. I'd like to see the Lakers do that at home anyway. So maybe that was the gift from Kobe to be able to do it back home.
How many times can Philadelphia watch somebody leave their team and go win a title somewhere else?
Well, it's bound to happen. A lot of people leave, so it's only that matter of time. So by the way, things I missed in this show. The one big thing I missed, I look forward to saying, was we were building up that the Bears-Bucks game. It's the Nick Foles-Tom Brady rematch, and it looks like both of us have Tom Brady getting the better of the Nick Foles-Tom Brady rematch.
Yeah, I still wish Tom Brady would have gotten the better of that first one.
People thought Nick was going to lose the first one too, so don't be surprised if we're both wrong.
Yeah, and I certainly won't be as surprised as I was in February 2 years ago, for sure. But Sean, unless you got anything to add, let's close this thing up and get on out of here.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I'd say just keep enjoying the sports, enjoy football while it's here. Hopefully we get a full season. I think it's just kind of starting to heat up, and I think that little scare is behind us, and teams are more aware. So don't panic about that. Again, don't panic about Tom Brady. But by all means, keep rooting against him because he's all for that. But you can follow me at Sean Shine State on Twitter. You can also follow me right here on all of the tags that Big Jim's about to tell you in a couple of seconds. And yeah, glad to see you guys every Tuesday. Have a good week.
Yeah, it's been fun. Obviously, follow us on social media. You can see it right there in the live video at Huddle Up Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Huddle Up Pod. You make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and all podcast platforms, including now Spotify and Amazon Music. Make sure you check out our home network, NGSC Sports, and of course our sponsor, Arena Apps. You'll hear the ad here in just a second. But until next week, stay safe, stay smart, and go for the win. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?